Hi, I'm Dr Hayley Dickinson, a research scientist, and I'm proudly a part of the endota wellbeing conversation. I'm a reproductive physiologist with expertise in stress and nutrition. But nowadays I tend to spend more time examining what we're learning in the science and comparing that with what we experience in our bodies and in our lives. In this conversation, we explore what science tells us about stress, overstimulation, and the body's natural repair systems. We'll discuss how slowing down allows the nervous system to shift into recovery mode and why restorative rituals support both physical and emotional well-being. We spend so much of our time in a stressed, overstimulated environment. That is the overwhelming majority of us in this modern life. There are so many things coming into our sensory system that when we are able to move from that overstimulated state to a calmer, more restful state, our body is allowed to focus its energy on other things. What really happens is that the brain is actually able to shift its focus to other systems and pathways and processes in the body that simply are not a priority when we are stressed or living in an alert, overstimulated environment. Because when we are in those states, our brain is constantly scanning the environment to keep us safe. Whereas when we are able to find safety, and safety looks different for every one of us, and it's just as much about the environment as it is about the people that we're in connection and relationship with, as it is about past experiences and memories. All of those things come together in our brain to determine what safe looks like for any one of us. But when we are able to find that, when we are able to find that safe, calm, restful state where we can shift our autonomic nervous system from that sympathetic to the parasympathetic, we are able to focus our energies on recovery, on restoring. So our wound healing, our skin and our bodies can focus on healing wounds. Our heart rate will slow, our breathing frequency will slow, tension in our muscles will soften a little, our digestion will improve, our inflammation, our general inflammation in our bodies will reduce. And as I talked about before, our reproductive organs will get that blood flow, that attention, that energy that they need to restore or renew those really important tissues. So I think one of the most important things for us to remember is that rest is not time wasted. It's when the body does its most important work. When we don't prioritise rest, when we don't have a break from the busy and the activity, our body gets stuck in that stress response. That stress response it's critical for our survival and it's very effective, but it needs to be met by a rest and a recovery. If you think about a dog, my dog Jessie, she would sleep all day given half the chance, but if a cat or a rabbit or a person comes within her senses, she's up and she's at it and she's full tilt in that moment responding to that perceived threat. But as soon as that threat has passed, she's back on the couch and she's back to rest. I don't think that I know many humans who live that kind of version of life where we'll have those busy, hectic, overstimulated moments and then meet them equally or even more so with rest and recovery. We just haven't really built our lives that way. I didn't heed the warnings that my body gave me over the years. And I think we all have them. There's the little niggling, there's the needing an extra coffee to kind of really get going in the morning. There's the need for 1 or 2 or 3 glasses of wine at the end of the day to wind down. Things that we know really aren't aligned with our best interests. But we do them anyway. We get caught up in the busy and there's just so many things that we need to do and we need help coming back to rest, coming out of that stress. When we stay in a stress state, some of the things that we might experience can be the feeling of being absolutely exhausted, but wired. So sleep just doesn't come easy. We might notice disruption in our digestive system. We might notice that our skin is it's just not feeling its best. It's a little dull, it's a little blemished, it's a little dry. All of those sorts of things, if we nick ourselves, we might have that cut for a really long time. And these are really beautiful signs that our body is giving us that says, I cannot prioritize those things right now because I only have a limited amount of resources to allocate. And they are all allocated to this feeling of vigilance and alert that we are constantly in. I think one of the most important things that we can do to help our body feel safe enough to slow down is to create some time. If we are constantly back-to-back booked with whatever our commitments are, whether they're family or work or anything really, if there's no time, if there's no space, then we're not really giving the body the chance to enter that restful state. And because if we have been in that stressed, highly stimulated state for a long time, when we do perhaps take a moment to lie down, the body may resist. The brain will question what's happening because it's unfamiliar, it's foreign, and the brain is a really powerful predictive tool, and so it predicts what's next. And so when you provide it with something that it's not expecting, that is not been its normal next, it will have a reaction. You will feel perhaps discomfort. And so it's really important to set the scene for yourself, set an environment that feels comfortable, where you're unlikely to be disturbed, where you can start to feel safe. And the most important thing is to meet yourself where you're at. There's no point going from peak survival mode to expecting yourself to achieve a successful 30-minute meditation. It's fanciful. The body will absolutely resist that throughout the entire time because it's just so different from what it's been used to. So it's really important to start slow and carefully, and when that monkey mind plays, because undoubtedly it will, that negative mind will really kick up in the beginning phases of rest and restoration. Acknowledge it. And just maybe it can be something really as simple as, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, but we're just going to stay here a little bit longer. So just very slowly, very carefully, can we sort of nudge the nervous system towards accepting rest and restoration. Our environment is everything to support our system into rest and recovery. We are a highly sensory organism. We are constantly taking in information from our external environment. And so if we are in an environment where there's loud noises, there's unpleasant odours, if it's really busy in the environment. I mean, take a look at where I am right now. It's exquisite, right? There's a lot around me, but it's beautiful, it's calming. The trees are moving, the leaves are rustling. There's just so much peace here. This environment it's optimal for the system to relax and settle and feel calm. And so if we are constantly in environments that overstimulate us, it's important to find ones that don't. Because in order to come within, in order to access that interoception, that awareness of sensation within the body, we must minimise those external inputs. It can be dimming the lights at home. I almost never turn the overhead lights on in my home. It's lamps, it's warm globes, so that the light isn't buzzing at me. It's providing light, but it's not overstimulating. Again, odours, for you or me, they'll be different, the ones that are stimulating versus restful and calming, because of course odour isn't just the odour, is it? It's what happens when we experience that smell. It comes back to the brain. It might trigger memories, good ones or not so great ones. And so again, it's about finding that support system that feels good for you. It's about you finding your safety. So we want to minimise what's coming into the visual field because we want the brain to stop thinking about and stop focusing its attention on what's outside and bring it to within. So it's really important to remember that we really can only invite the body to find rest. It's not something that we can force, and it really will only come if we provide support to that nervous system to allow it to feel safe, and really only then will the body enter that restful state. Understanding how the body works helps us care for it more intentionally. To learn more from the Endota Wellbeing Conversation and explore simple ways to support your health and longevity, visit endota.com.